5 years after Russia annexed Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, and one well-known Crimean Tatar dissident, Ilmi Umerov, fears of returning to his homeland out of fear of persecution. The 62-year-old, who has been awarded by President Petro Poroshenko, now lives in Kiev with his daughter, while his wife and 2 other children, as well as relatives, are in Crimea. Suleiman Umarov, who has a family of his own, says he misses his father every day.
Every son should have a father. Glory to Allah. I have him, and he's not that far from me. But while I am here in Crimea, and he is there in Kiev, it feels like something was taken out of me. I was not put back to its place.
Suleiman makes the trip to Kiev to see his father at least twice a year.
My younger son is 3 years old, and he hasn't seen his grandfather for a year. Right at that moment when he started talking, discovering the world, his father should have been around. But unfortunately, it has not happened yet. But I hope they'll get acquainted once again in the nearest future.
The Crimean Tatar Muslim minority were deported by Soviet leader Joseph Stalin in 1944 during World War II. For Suleiman, this is one of the main reasons why leaving his home and joining his father is not an option.
I personally cannot afford to leave Crimea. To be honest, I even do not think of it. Crimea is our homeland. The bones of our ancestors were buried here, and I think that every Crimean Tatar who respects himself thinks the same.
In Kiev, Ilmi Umerov fears reuniting with his family could end with him being jailed by the Russian occupation regime. He spent 2 years in prison in 2017 on what are believed to be politically motivated charges. He was released as part of a deal brokered by the Turkish government.
My grandson knows that when the Russian authorities leave, his grandfather will come back. I sometimes ask my grandchildren jokingly, "What's going on? Aren't the Russians running away yet?" The children laugh, but the adults say that it's still not the case.
The Crimean Tatars have opposed Russia's annexation of the Black Sea Peninsula. Unmarked Russian troops invaded and annexed the peninsula in 2014. That same year, on March 16th, Russia held a fig leaf referendum in Crimea. It was boycotted by the Crimean Tatar community.
If you asked me 4 or 4.5 years ago, I would have said that everything would be over in a year or a year and a half. Now 5 years have passed already, and there is no end in sight. But it does not mean that we should give up. We shouldn't give up. We must always keep fighting.
The Western world denounced the referendum and imposed sanctions on Moscow, but this hasn't changed the fact that hundreds of families like the Umerovs were torn apart and have yet to reunite.